biggest mistake I ever made in security. Go.
Not firing a managed security services provider fast enough. We all know how long it takes to onboard providers, whether they're vendors or doing something else for us, but MSSPs are crucial to security operations, and lobbing alerts over the fence just does not work.
It's time to begin the CISO Series podcast, recorded in front of a live audience in Los Angeles.
All right, that I like to hear. Awesome. We are in Los Angeles. We are here at the ISSA LA Summit, our fourth year doing the show here. We are thrilled to be back again. They invite us back again and again. We are still trying to figure out why, given all the problems. We're thrilled to be here. I want everyone to meet my guest co-hosts, sitting in place of where usually Mike Johnson or Andy Ellis sit. It is the Deputy CISO for Corning Incorporated, Jeff Stedman. Let's hear it for Jeff.
Hello, audience.
Say hello to our audience.
Yeah. Hello.
All right. That's his voice. You're going to hear a lot more of him. By the way, we're available at CISOseries.com, where you can find all of our wonderful programming, but don't go there now. Those of you in the audience, if you're listening, if you're driving, don't go there right now, but you can go eventually. Let me tell you about our wonderful sponsors. We have Adaptive Security, next generation security awareness. Let's hear it for Adaptive. And Drop Zone AI SOC analysts that never sleep. You're going to hear more about them later in the day. Now, you and I were chatting, Jeff, just earlier. You were given some, when you were, I don't know if you were starting out, if you were well into it, but you were given some really, really good advice of dealing with an incident. What was that?
So it was early on in my career, David.
So it was?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. And I was in a training course, hadn't had the opportunity to handle an incident yet. And the instructor says, you can't outrun a packet. And sitting back, it really, reflecting on that, it's the adrenaline's going to overtake you. You're going to throw your incident response playbook out the window. Don't do those things. If you're working too fast to take notes, you're just working too fast.
That is a really good point. In fact, actually, I don't know if you saw it. We shot a video at Black Hat where I asked people, what do they not teach you about dealing with incident response? And you kind of hit the nail on the head. The big thing that we got from a lot of people was they don't teach you about the stress at all. That's something you have to experience on site. All right. I want to introduce our guest and get into the show. To my far left here, he is the CSO for Shepherd Mullen, none other than Quincy Collins. Let's hear it for Quincy. Say hello to the audience.
Hey, everybody. Such a warm welcome. I'm really appreciative to be in front of you all today.
How is AI going to solve this problem?
All right. Since modern LLM tools came onto the scene, how will the next generation learn cybersecurity when AI takes over entry-level work? So Helen Patton of Cisco asked this very question, and she's struggling to find satisfying answers beyond theoretical suggestions, such as AI-led coaching. So this reminds me of learning long division in school. We all know how to do it, and it helped us learn mathematical concepts. And that's about it. I mean, nobody uses it. I mean, is there a long division of cyber that's still necessary? Or can we skip straight to the conceptual understanding of cybersecurity? Is there some grunt work that's just a must-do in cybersecurity? So I'm going to ask you first, Jeff, where are we overthinking this transition? It is happening. Or is there a real risk if we lose grasp of these foundations?
That's a great question. I think that for me, I'll talk about the long division aspect of this and then the overthinking aspect of it. So the long division component is really looking at that foundational level of work. We'll never really get rid of that. The understanding of confidentiality, integrity, and availability and how that applies into the environment to protect that business, that's very important. So the other aspect is the overthinking. Certainly not overthinking how AI impacts the business and how your roles are going to be impacted. So you have to plan for those entry-level workers to shift, learn how to do the new tools, use the new tools, and use the new skill sets along the way. But it's not just for those entry-level workers. It's for everybody on your team.
All right, Quincy, I throw it to you. By the way, have you thought about this? Like, hey, if AI is going to take this, like, how are we going to groom the next crowd? Like, and aren't there some basic concepts? Like, I had to learn this. They should too.
So conceptually, I think it's really important to note that cybersecurity starts with information technology. So it's really, at its core, it's an information technology problem. You have to understand information technology if you are to actually secure a system. And in order to investigate, you need to understand how computers work, networking, cloud, and whatever it is that you're trying to secure. So looking at how these young folks and other individuals who are transferring into cyber are supposed to learn, they're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way if they really want to have that deep foundation on which they can build. Because I think today there's a little bit of a problem in cybersecurity in that everyone's looking, not everyone, but many folks are looking for a shortcut. And I'm here to tell you.
AI is kind of providing some shortcuts, don't you think?
I'm here to say that there are no shortcuts. AI is a tool that we can utilize, but you have to have the wherewithal to understand if the AI is potentially giving you some incorrect information or it's missing valuable contextual information about your organization or whatever it is that you're trying to secure.
Jeff, the two of you think of this way of like, you got to learn it even though AI is there, kind of like we had to learn it even though we had calculators. Is there going to be this potential backlash of, no, I can just do it because I know how to ask the question?
I'm sure there will be, but from a understanding perspective, that means your workforce is going to be a little weaker, right? So that context, as Quincy was referring to, it's key. It's the key to the success and understanding what's actually happening.
You won't know if AI is telling you the right answer.
Exactly.
Where does the CISO begin?
Quote, your fully exploited strengths provide far more credibility than your marginally improved weaknesses. Jarek Beeson, who's the CISO at WM, argues that the myth that a security leader needs to be good at everything. Unless it's a very small company, rarely will you need to be a cyber Swiss Army knife. Build credibility by making your strengths your signature while hiring for your weaknesses, said Beeson. Now, leaders don't need to be experts in everything. Knowing that and being open about that speaks volumes. Even if you don't know it all, always be prepared to ask intelligent questions to any audience. If you can't, your credibility can take a hit. So I'm going to start with you, Quincy. How can you be, this really seems critical for a CISO or CSO. How can you be omnipotent without being an omni-expert?
I think the focus for CISOs and CSOs out there is to be able to ask the right questions of the executives that they're working alongside, their security team that's working with them, and the right questions of the business. So you don't necessarily need to be an expert in every single area and every facet of cybersecurity, but I think you do need to tread water in order to be able to make it to shore, if that makes sense. You've got to know about encryption. You've got to know about what it is that your business is doing. You've got to know about cloud if that's where you are. So it's very contextual what it is that you need to know, but from a foundational aspect, you have to be strong enough to be able to ask the right questions and lead your organization in the right direction with minimal risk or minimizing the risk that is associated with bringing in technology and other associated business processes in your business.
Jeff, let me ask you, have you ever had a situation where you actually did not know the right question? You said, what question should I be asking?
Regularly.
All right. Okay, good.
Right. And it's important because, your perspective, you're bringing one lens. It's important to ask your team, your stakeholders, what is it from their perspective that they see, is the challenge or the issue. So to Quincy's point, asking those questions is important, digging down deeper, whether it's business, your team, understanding your gaps and making sure you're hiring for those gaps so that you have the right people surrounding you to get to that right answer, making sure you're providing value back to the business.
I'm sure the two of you had maybe, for your time, higher technical capabilities, and once you moved into the managerial role, that slid. Did that totally happen for both of you?
Unfortunately, yes. My technical capabilities have diminished. They haven't perished, but they have diminished.
Right, and I will say, I always hear this. I hear it all the time, and there's a little lost for the enjoyment of that, but you realize it seems this is the right sacrifice I have to make. Yes?
I think it's kind of twofold. One, from a practicality standpoint, you want to be able to do everything, right? But at the same time, you shouldn't. As an executive, that's not your role to tighten down the bolts, right? Your role is to lead the strategy of an organization and figure out the best path forward, even if you don't have all of the information. A lot of CISOs out there are doing their best with what they have. And unfortunately, you can't always hire for the most technical folks or the most expensive folks or the folks with X amount of experience. So you have to do the best you can with what you have.
Similar experience for you, Jeff, in terms of letting sort of that technical expertise slide?
I think I'm still not acknowledging that point yet.
Okay.
I do enjoy getting my hands down into logs and reviewing the work that the team does to the point that they ask me to let them do their job. But it also gives me that opportunity to ask those questions to make sure that we're covering our bases.
Who's our sponsor this week?
We have two phenomenal sponsors, and I'm going to tell you about both of them. But first, we'll just talk about adaptive security. So they're actually OpenAI's first cybersecurity investment. So AI-powered social engineering threats like deepfake voice calls, Gen AI phishing, and vishing attacks are all evolving fast. We know this. Adaptive helps security leaders get ahead with an AI-native platform that simulates realistic Gen AI attacks and delivers expert-vetted security awareness training all in one unified solution. And now, with Adaptive's new AI content creator, security teams can instantly transform breaking threat intel or updated policy docs into interactive multilingual training. No instructional design is needed. That means faster compliance, better engagement, and less risk. Trusted by Fortune 500 and backed by Andreessen Horowitz and the OpenAI Startup Fund, Adaptive is helping security teams prepare for the next generation of cyber threats. And you can actually learn more by going to adaptivesecurity.com. It is spelled exactly the way it sounds, adaptivesecurity.com. And when you go there, let them know that you heard about them from the CISO Series.
It's time to play What's Worse?
All right. We have been doing this game since the very beginning of the CISO series. And I have a very creative scenario here. And it comes from Erkan Sertulu of sahibinden.com. And here we go. It's got a Marvel theme to it. You'll like this. Now, I'm going to make you answer first, by the way, Jeff, and you will agree or disagree, Quincy. All right. And you have to give a good argument for which one is worse.
You're going to turn us into enemies here.
Yeah, here we go. You can agree or disagree, whichever way you want to go. All right. During the Age of Ultron era, Captain America was presented with a disturbing cyber intelligence report from the Avengers. The team had detected two separate threats, each alarming in its own way. So I'm going to describe each threat. You're going to tell me essentially which one is worse. So the first report warned that Ultron had developed a swarm of nanobots capable of bypassing any physical security mechanism without triggering alarms. These nanobots could physically access the Avengers' backbone switch or any other system and manipulate hardware components undetected. Pretty darn bad, yes?
Yeah, it's no good.
Yeah, no good. All right, the second one's pretty bad too. Second report warned that Ultron had managed to break message encryption keys based on 128-bit TLS cipher suites. He achieved this by leveraging a multi-dimensional quantum algorithm combined with brute force attacks, provided he captured enough data packets. Now, the captain does not know which report is more possible. So really the question I have with you is, which threat should he prioritize? Which one is worse? So is it the physical nanobots, or is it the fact that the encryption keys have been completely bypassed?
I just want to say both of these are terrible, but I'm gonna go with the nanobots. The nanobots themselves, actually, can I change that?
Hold it. Now you want to go to encryption?
Yeah, I want to go to the encryption. Is worse because,
Hold on, wait. You started with the nanobots.
I know.
You
I know.
lasted by the
4
way, I don't
seconds.
think we've had anyone last that short on a decision before. All right. So you have switched from nanobots to encryption. So you think encryption is worse. Why?
The encryption is worse because if the nanobots get in and I'm using encrypted traffic, then I'm not really worried about the nanobots, right? So if they're coming across my switch and they want to look at it, great, have a field day. As soon as you can break that encryption, they just need access to the data and enough data, and then you're done.
All right. Good point. But I got to point out that there's a lot of damage that can be done without accessing data. Yes, Quincy?
Yes.
Okay. So which is worse?
So they're both very bad.
Yes.
I gotta say,
There's no doubt on
agree,
that.
Quincy.
we
You have agreement on that.
agree.
Yes.
Very good.
I'll just add that if the nanobots had access to the switch, they can then likely penetrate the network. So it's actually a confidentiality, integrity, and availability risk compared to the confidentiality risk of breaking the encryption. So I would go with the nanobots.
Are far, far worse?
Yes.
I want you to know that Erkan, who sent this in, he considered the physical breach worse because he feels like, well, you could just upgrade to stronger encryption, 256-bit keys, if you wanted to.
Well, maybe, but if I'm operating in the cloud, what are you going to go get on my switch? I'm not going to have a switch.
Good point. I want to know from the audience, how many people think the nanobots is the worst scenario? By applause, how many people? Okay, who raises their hands for a podcast? All right, a lot of people. So a lot of people are agreeing with you, Quincy. All right, by applause, how many people think that the encryption is far, far worse? By applause. You switched so quickly.
I did. Yeah.
I think the audience was on your side at the beginning. Did someone dissuade you from the audience? Did you get like an evil stare?
The sun got in my eyes because we're near the beach, David.
There's barely any setup. There's a lot of cloud cover.
Cloudy.
What is Dave's mom talking about?
All right. My mom is not a cybersecurity expert. She's an elderly woman who is very kind to her son, and when her son comes up with a really stupid idea for a game, she plays along. So here's how this works. I asked my mom to describe different terms in cybersecurity. I will tell you these are all different variations of wrong, okay? You know what these terms mean. You definitely know what these terms mean. You have to try to determine from her, just hearing these words, not knowing anything about cybersecurity, try to figure out what the heck she's talking about. All right? I'm going to play each clip. Just jump in when you know. If you guys can't figure it out, we throw this to the audience. All right, here we go. Here's the first one.
Stand up straight to stop someone from breaking in.
Firewall.
I'm going to tell you that first line, stand up straight, is critical.
It's tough.
You're gonna,
Yeah, I got nothing.
oh, God. All right, hold it. Somebody could yell it really loud. What do you think? Security posture. Yes, sir. Very good. Very, very good. Excellent. All right. 1 for the audience, 0 for the two of you.
Audience is rocking.
Yes, audience is kicking ass. All right. Here we go.
Someone cheating and looking into your data.
There's a semblance of correctness here. There's a little bit here. Come on, jump in. I'm going to buzz you out.
Buzz
on
this out.
Yeah.
Buzz this out.
Oh, this
Buzz
is
you
tough.
out.
That's a tough one.
This is the hardest test that I've taken.
All right, and we're going to the audience. The audience is going to crush you. All right. Anyone know this one? I'll play it again.
Someone cheating and looking into your data.
Not lateral movement, not pen testing.
SSL script?
No.
Hacker?
No, not hacker. This one may be too tough. This is spyware. All right, that is. Here we go.
Someone cheating and looking into your
It's
data.
spyware. You see they're spying into your data.
It's kind of right.
She's kind of got it right.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Here we go. So 1 for the audience, 0 for everybody. Here we go.
It's hard to believe, but some people will be good when they get into your information.
I think you can get this one. Want to take a guess on this?
Ethical hackers.
So close, extremely close. Quincy, you can take this. Very close.
A black hat.
White
No.
hat.
The white hat is correct. Good job. Very, very good. All right.
That was a combo win. We should each get a point, David.
No.
Everybody gets a point.
No, he said black hat. He was completely off. He was completely off.
I was like, what?
But in terms of brainstorming, we would consider that a win because good ideas come from bad ideas. But since you're playing a game and you're not brainstorming, Quincy loses, you win.
There we go.
So 1 for the audience, 1 for Jeff. Quincy's got 0. You can redeem yourself, and it could be a 3-way tie here. Quincy, last one.
Alrighty.
Here we go. Okay, just want to stress, everyone in this room knows it. My mother does not.
An online streaming service that is so unusual, few people know about it.
Okay, it's so not right. But again, if you had heard it for the first time, this is probably how you describe it, and you didn't work in cybersecurity. I'll play it one more time for you.
An online streaming service that is so unusual, few people know about it.
Wow. Yeah.
Nothing?
Nothing intelligent to say. So I'll just I'll just come with the first thing that I think she might have thought about was security certificate, maybe.
Oh God, no.
I don't know.
No. By the way, your intelligence is what's hurting you here. Yeah, this is youth don't
Give me the buzz.
Yeah, well, all right, we're taking this to the audience. I'm going to play it again for you.
An online streaming service that is so unusual, few people know about it.
Anyone want to take a stab at that one? What do you got? No, not 0 day. No. It's a security term.
Oh, security term.
Anyone want to guess this? Come on, you're gonna hate yourself when you hear the answer.
I love your mom, though.
Yeah, we all love my mom. Anyways, it's a virtual private network. There we go.
Wow.
Mom.
Your mom crushed it.
My mom won is who won.
Is this really the right strategy?
This is a really fun, creative discussion. Should your next strategic hire be an artist instead of another analyst? Now, that's a question raised by Annalise Lewis and Laura Melissa Williams of Manifesto, who argue that businesses have sidelined the artist's mind in favor of data obsession and engineering solutions. Their case for strategic artists includes roles like director of strategic imagination and narrative systems architect, arguing that artists thrive in volatile spaces. Now, there's a precedent for creative minds in security. After 9/11, the CIA reached out to screenwriters like Lawrence Wright to help imagine terrorist scenarios. So I'm going to start with you, Jeff. Do you actually see value, and maybe you've already done this, in bringing artistic thinking into cybersecurity strategy? And have you chosen that over a qualified traditional candidate and define that the way you want? Or does it sound like a nice to have, but not top of the list?
For me, I think it's a nice to have, not at the top of the list, but I'm going to qualify that a little bit with it's important to bring in differing perspectives, right? So when you have somebody that maybe is not that traditional candidate, creative or otherwise, they're going to provide that angle or lens that you may not think about into your processes and hopefully update those to make them a little more modern. I think it's more important that we consider hiring for what I call the 3 A's, which is attitude, aptitude, and appetite. So if you have those 3 great qualities in any teammate, then they're going to bring value back to the business. But I think the real winner here is if you have somebody that's working in your business that wants to get into cybersecurity, they're bringing that business value to the team.
That, by the way, I couldn't agree with that one more. All right. Same question to you regarding bringing in the creative minds. Is it a nice to have, or this is kind of, we can move this to the top of the list?
I'm a fan of the whole person concept. I wouldn't set aside one quality for another. I look at the entire person whenever it is that I'm hiring for a security operations job or auditor job. A lot of people want to look at, hey, how many certifications do they have? Where did they go to school, or what was their experience? But, you got to kind of package all of those things and then ask yourself, is this the right culture fit? How is this person going to fit in the team? And then how does their mind work, right? Give them some situational problems and not necessarily looking for the right answer, but understanding their thought process, because that could be indicative of how they're going to attempt to solve problems.
So I'm interested in how you do that. We've heard a lot from our audience. They've taken our what's worse scenarios and asked them for job interviews with candidates. Have you done that, like either through a job interview or just sort of challenging the team in general? Like, what would you do in this scenario? Or another classic case is when a big hack happens, you sort of study it from your angle. Like, had this happened to us, how would we handle it? Like, have you sort of done challenges like that?
So the way we internalize and kind of work through problems that we've seen out in the real world is we don't necessarily game plan and say, hey, what would you have done? We just kind of look at, hey, does this problem potentially exist in our environment? And what does that remediation strategy look like? So a few years ago, we had a situation where there were lots of remote management tools out in the real world that were being exploited. Large companies, small companies, medium-sized companies were actually being exploited via remote management tool. So, we decided, hey, we're going to look at our firewall, block it from an application perspective, look at the endpoint, and then create alarms in our SIM. So, are you able to detect it? Are you able to prevent it? And then what are you able to do moving forward? And then we actually update that list every 6 months or so, or when something interesting happens. So we don't necessarily gameplay and say, hey, what would you do? We kind of look at, hey, what's the threat? What's the risk to our environment? And then use our auditors to make sure and audit that process and make sure that it's buttoned up nicely.
So it's really like if assessing that incident in the public that happened to somebody else to see if that risk applies to you and how you need to go address that risk in your environment. So it really boils down to assessing your environment to know if that risk applies and then taking the appropriate action.
Oh, absolutely. We love to learn from others so that we don't have issues internally, or at least try to prevent them.
Who's our sponsor this week?
Picture this. Your SOC gets a suspicious login alert at 3 a.m. It sits in the queue for 6 hours because your night shift is overwhelmed. By morning, if it's real, the attacker has moved laterally through your network. Here's what changes everything. DropZone AI doesn't just enrich alerts, it actually investigates them like your best analyst would. It pulls logs, checks user behavior patterns, correlates with threat intel, and builds a complete evidence chain. All in under 10 minutes. Autonomously. No playbooks to maintain, no code to write. It learns your environment and gets smarter with every investigation. Now, while other tools generate more alerts, DropZone eliminates the backlog. Your analysts get detailed investigation reports, not just enriched data. Stop letting real threats hide in your alert queue. Visit their site. It's dropzone.ai, spelled just the way it sounds, dropzone.ai, to see autonomous investigation in action. That's dropzone.ai. And when you go there, let them know you heard about them from the CISO series.
Surprising research just in.
When we zoom out and look at the last 100 years of business history, it becomes painfully clear that cybersecurity risk is important, but rarely truly existential. And that's what Ross Haliluk of Venture and Security said. And he noted this on LinkedIn, that market risk, execution failures, and strategy mishaps close doors a lot more often than cybersecurity issues. And in fact, security researcher Adrian Sanabria has taken this further, maintaining a spreadsheet tracking companies that actually went out of business due to cyber attacks. And the list is remarkably short, 17 over the last 10 years. So this challenges cybersecurity's sense of self-importance. We often act like we're the only ones keeping the barbarians at the gates. So I'm going to start with you, Quincy. How do you balance the still very real threats of cyber attacks with the industry's tendency towards dramatic overstatement? We've heard of FUD. So, and does acknowledging this diminish cybersecurity's importance? What do you think?
My first question is, who is shooting out all the FUD, right? I think if we look at the marketing behind a lot of the new security tools that are out there, many of them are unproven, right? So especially the new things that are bleeding edge. So we have to just be careful not to purchase expensive paperweights, but to really kind of be right behind that bleeding edge just to keep pace with the attacks that are out there. The most important part for me regarding information security and keeping a tight grip on my network is training my team, making sure that they're available, making sure that they stay on the team. There are a lot of things associated with keeping pace with the current landscape of information security that's going beyond fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You've got to stay behind the 8 ball and keep your foundation with regard to information security and just keeping your head in the game.
All right. Now, do you feel, maybe your own team feels this way or you feel this way, but the business may not acknowledge cybersecurity as being that important, like it's going to crush the business? Like, where do you stay? It's important, but we're not going to wreck you, or like, how does it play? I mean, but I'm sure you kind of have these discussions, yes? Like, what's like, this could wreck us, this couldn't.
So every business unit is important. The role for information security and myself is to mitigate risk for the business. So with that in mind, there are other factors at hand when you're thinking about cost, when you're thinking about allocation of resources, and when you're thinking about security controls. So information security is important, but there are other more important, many times, factors which may play into your decisions. Now, I think it's also important to note that there's a risk appetite associated with the decisions that you make. And it's our role to make sure that everyone involved and the decision makers that are involved are aware of the risks and sign off on those risks associated with whatever it is that you're doing. I think it's just vitally important that you have the business lens in front of you rather than just a purely information security lens, because that's kind of self-serving.
And by the way, that's very much staying within the theme of the CISO series. Jeff, what can you add to this?
Well, first thing, I want to go back and challenge the numbers on the 17.
So just so you know, you can look this up. Adrian Sanabria, it's an open list. I mean, I don't know if you can edit it directly, but you can contact him and he updates it. He's always looking for
let me explain why I want to challenge it, right? Okay. So it's not just those 17. That impact to those 17 has a ripple effect into a supply chain that causes an impact there. And I would hazard a guess that there are more than 17 that were impacted because of a single cybersecurity event.
I'm not arguing. This is literally doors closed because of a cybersecurity incident. No question that companies get impacted. Yes.
Right. Yeah. And so I completely agree with Quincy that you need to communicate candidly to the business about risk. That's more important. And there are times that the business is going to look over and say, all right, we'll accept this particular risk. And you need to understand that risk and where you should be allocating your funding to then secure the environment.
It's time for this week's security tip. This week's AI-infused security operations tip is sponsored by Anvalogic.
A truly mature SOC doesn't exist solely to react to threat alerts. It must also actively hunt threats down. This is a shift from reactive to proactive, and this is exactly where AI shines. Since it's capable of analyzing enormous volumes of telemetry, such as logs, endpoints, network data, and cloud events, AI is best suited to uncover weak or hidden links that no analyst could ever find manually, at least in a timely fashion. AI pieces together relationships across systems, correlating indicators that appear harmless on their own, but which form a pattern when they are seen together. A series of low-level authentication anomalies might go unnoticed by busy humans, but when they are spotted and connected, that's where they could reveal lateral movement in progress. AI-fueled hunting transforms seemingly random noise into investigative leads. Human expertise still guides the process. They're not redundant. Humans are best at deciding which anomalies to pursue and which to dismiss. Your SOC can build hunt libraries, which are informed by AI insights and which continuously learn from successes and false positives. allowing you to keep your eyes on the horizon as well as the ground right in front of you.
To learn more about saving costs and optimizing analyst capacity with a hybrid SIM and data lake, go to anvologic.com. It's time for the audience question speed round.
All right, I have here in my hand a series of questions that I've gotten from many of you, and we've actually got a good amount of time, so I think hopefully we can get through a lot of these. And this first one is quite interesting. I learned this from Richard Rushing, who's here in the audience right now. He is the CISO over at Motorola Mobility, and they have Copilot running in their environment, and he just had Copilot volunteer. He didn't ask for this, volunteered this very information. It said to him, "You've been working a lot. You deserve a raise." My question to you is, how dangerous is this? That Copilot volunteered this to him, and I'm sure possibly his team as well. How dangerous is that?
I think it's really dangerous if you're not classifying your data accordingly and maintaining those controls where Copilot has unfettered access to information like that.
So they know his salary. They know how hard he's working. He knows maybe what his salary may be compared to other CISOs, things like that.
That's certainly a challenge. I wonder, did you take more time off?
I think this highlights the fact that the risks don't just lie with information security departments or information technology departments. It goes to the business units, it goes to HR, it goes to general counsel, your legal department. So AI, technology, usage of whatever systems that you're utilizing, it encompasses the entire business. So many more people should be in the conversation about technological risk, whether it's AI or otherwise, rather than just information security. So yes, it is dangerous. AI is watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a level of education that needs to occur with the entire business to ensure that you're secure.
These types of questions could be wake-up calls like, oh, maybe it should be. We maybe have to tighten this thing a little bit. All right, here we go. From Maddie Keene of K-Force asks, are you seeing fraudulent candidates coming through for jobs? And if so, how are you handling it?
Fraudulent candidates. I mean, what's the definition of a fraudulent candidate, right? So are they in a location that is unexpected? Are they working multiple jobs at the same time during the same hours? There's a movement behind that. Mm-hmm. Or are they in a adversarial nation that is potentially looking to infiltrate your environment? So there's a lot of different aspects of a fraudulent worker, and you have to have strong HR controls. You have to.
So, but are these conversations you're having with HR like okay, so that's good. So you can see this kind of stuff if it's coming in.
You can only see what you're aware of.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always going to be a residual risk of some candidate or some group slipping through. But I think it's just important for organizations to have a plan for vetting applicants as they come in. And, what does that new hire onboarding process look like, right? There are currently laptop farms that are in different states and people being paid to wiggle the mouse, so to speak, and log in so that individuals from other countries can actually work in U.S. organizations. And it's quite scary, actually. And it's just like having a physical security breach, actually, and maybe even worse, right? They could exfil your data and then try to sell it back to you. So you're only as strong as the controls that you have. So you have to do the best that you can and communicate that risk. And hopefully your process is going to pull up a flag at some point during that process.
Let's go to the next question. For you, Jeff. I like this question. From Malka Bondar of Fira Global. How do you define sensitive data?
I actually don't get to define sensitive data. That's really up to the business, right? So from that aspect.
Have you ever had this and where they go, all my data is sensitive? I'm sure you've heard that line.
I think everyone in the room has heard that particular, right? So
then you kind of, don't you have to act like a Sherpa or a guide going, all right, what is the concern of this data? What's the concern? Like, do you have to kind of work them through it?
I think it's a consensus of stakeholders too, right? So if you look at a particular segment of the business, depending upon who you're talking to, everyone thinks that their data is special.
Right.
And a portion of that data is certainly special. You really need to tie it back to the business value.
All right, quick. How do you define sensitive data?
It's defined by the business. It's defined by the system owner, the data owner, and it's your job to make sure that it aligns with the data classification policies that you have and different laws and regulations associated with the data that you're attempting to protect. I think that's the most important part. And then that will flow down to your data loss prevention policies and data tagging, all of that.
All right. I like this question from Amy Cheney, Citi, right here. What security strategies, or just pick one, are you abandoning because they do not work anymore? Maybe they worked at one time, but hey, it's not now. What do you think? Either one of you.
I think the old strategy of defense in depth is going to remain. It keeps getting repackaged over and over again. Now it's zero trust.
Right.
But I think confidentiality, integrity, and availability, defense in depth, those old school information security definitions and frameworks, if that's what you want to call them, are going to continue to be repackaged as we move forward. We're just going to put different technology, new technology, and new innovative ways of securing our systems and data and enclaves moving forward. So I'm not abandoning anything because I think it's a lesson that you learn with each thing that you do. You just keep it in your back pocket. You never know when it might be useful. You got to use that 10 millimeter wrench at some point, you know?
Yeah, it's expanding, I think. So everything you said, yes, ditto, right? I think the component is that you're adding on, you're taking a different context to talk about data specifically to protect the data versus just your perimeter, just a host. And then you're moving into that identity space. I need to protect the identities, whether that's an actual human account or maybe it's an agent for AI and their identity.
All right. Very last question from Richard Greenberg, who is running the whole show here with the ISSA. We love Richard. Let's hear it for Richard. There he goes. All right. We're closing with this question. I love this question. I mean, the discussion of AI is incessant. It's nonstop. It's painful. I'm interested to know, what are actually the AI risks you discuss with the C-suite?
Really, it's across the business, right? So if you're looking at AI, you have to look at it from the user context, how you help the user, how you defend the environment, how you can support the business to grow, all those aspects. There's not a single technology that I think is coming out today. Your refrigerator will have AI built in to let you know that you're not quite out of milk yet, but it's almost expired, so think about it. So, really it's looking at each aspect of that business and how AI can either assist it moving forward or be a detriment if you're not careful with how it's implemented.
I agree with Jeff's sentiments. I would just add that security architecture is really important when it comes to any application, whether it's AI or otherwise. Where is that data going? How is it stored? What logging is associated with the tools? Is the data being utilized to train other models? Is it accessible by other entities? Are they sharing that data out with third parties? Are they selling it? There are a lot of questions that you have to ask when implementing AI technologies. But at the same time, you want the implementation and onboarding and procurement of technology to be smooth. You don't want to take too long reviewing things. So you want to make sure that that process is as quick as can be, but also as thorough as necessary to protect your organization.
Well, that brings us to the very end of this episode. Let's hear it from my guest on stage, Jeff Stedman, Deputy CISO over at Corning Incorporated. Also, Quincy Collins, CSO for Shepherd Mullen. I'm David Spark. Let's hear it for our sponsors. Adaptive Security, Next Generation Security Awareness. Remember, adaptivesecurity.com, and Drop Zone AI SOC analysts that never sleep. Remember, go to dropzone.ai. And remember, when you go to either one of their sites, let them know you heard about them from the CISO series. I want a huge thanks to the ISSA LA chapter for inviting us again for the 4th time. Thank you so much for bringing us here. We really appreciate it. We love coming here. This is definitely a great crowd. It's fantastic. So kudos to all of you for coming. Kudos to our guests. Kudos to our sponsors. And keep this wonderful cyber community in Los Angeles going. Let's hear it for you. Thank you very much. As always, thank you for listening, and contributing to the CISO Series podcast.
That wraps up another episode. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, please do. We have lots more shows on our website, CISOSeries.com. Please join us on Fridays for our live shows, Super Cyber Friday, our virtual meetup, and Cybersecurity Headlines Week in Review. This show thrives on your input. Go to the Participate menu on our site for plenty of ways to get involved, including recording a question or a comment for the show. If you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, contact David Spark directly at david@cisoseries.com. Thank you for listening to the CISO Series podcast.